The stars looked different out here. Commander pressed his weathered hand against the small window of the exploration ship Hope's Dawn. At 67 years old, he had seen many star fields, but nothing like this. They were farther from Earth than any human had ever traveled before. "Commander, we're picking up something strange on the sensors," called Lieutenant Sarah from her station. Her voice carried that edge of excitement that young explorers always got when they found something new. Walked over to look at her screen. The readings made no sense. 3 massive objects were moving toward them at impossible speeds. Whatever they were big, much bigger than anything humans had ever built. "Are they ships?" asked Doctor, the mission's lead scientist. His dark eyes were wide with curiosity and growing concern. Studied the sensor data. The objects were definitely artificial. They moved with purpose and showed energy signatures that his instruments could barely read. "Send out a peaceful greeting signal, all frequencies. Let them know we come in peace." The crew of 12 worked quickly at their stations, had handpicked each one of them for this mission to the edge of known space. They were good people, smart, brave. They deserved better than what was about to happen. The reply came 30 minutes later. It was not words, but action. A brilliant blue beam struck their ship, and every system went dead. Emergency lighting flickered on as the Hope's Dawn shuddered and stopped moving. "We're caught in some kind of tractor beam," reported Engineer, his fingers dancing over backup controls. "I can't break us free." Through the window, watched as one of the alien ships grew larger and larger. It was a monster of metal and strange curves, easily 10 times the size of their small exploration vessel. Lights moved along its hull in patterns that hurt to look at. This was technology beyond anything Earth had ever imagined. The alien ship opened like a flower. Inside was a docking bay big enough to hold 100 ships like theirs. The Hope's Dawn was pulled inside, helpless as a leaf in a storm. Gathered his crew around him. Most of them were young. This was their first deep space mission. Fear showed clearly on their faces, but they trusted him. That made what he had to tell them even harder. "Listen carefully," he said in a calm voice that had commanded respect for 47 years. "We are about to meet an alien species. We don't know what they want or how they think. Stay calm. Follow my lead. Remember your training." "What if they're hostile?" asked the youngest of the group. Looked at her kind face. She reminded him of his own daughter. "Then we deal with it. But until we know for sure, we treat this as a first contact situation. We represent all of humanity out here." Heavy footsteps echoed through their ship. The sounds were wrong somehow, too rhythmic and too sharp. Positioned himself at the airlock door. Whatever came through, it would have to face him first. The door exploded inward. The creatures that entered were like nothing from Earth's worst nightmares. They stood 9 feet tall on powerful legs. Their bodies were covered in dark scales that gleamed like wet stone. 4 eyes sat in their reptilian heads, all focused forward with predator intensity. They carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Behind them came more aliens. These were smaller, wearing different uniforms. Some kind of scientific team, guessed. They pointed strange devices at the humans and spoke to each other in a language of hisses and clicks. The largest alien stepped forward. When it spoke, a device on its chest translated the words into perfect English. "I am Admiral of the 5th Fleet. You are now prisoners of the Galactic Empire. Resistance will result in immediate death." Stepped forward, keeping his hands visible and empty. "I am commander of the human exploration vessel Hope's Dawn. We come in peace from the planet Earth. We wish to establish friendly relations with your people." The alien admiral looked at for a long moment. Then it began to laugh. The sound was horrible, like glass breaking mixed with a snake's hiss. The other aliens joined in, their laughter filling the small ship. "Friendly relations," translated voice dripped with amusement. "Look at you, small, weak. Your ship is primitive beyond belief. Your weapons are toys. Your civilization barely extends beyond your single star system." The admiral gestured to his soldiers. "Take them to the tribunal chamber. The Empire will be amused to see what passes for intelligence in this empty corner of space." As the aliens herded his crew out of the ship, caught a glimpse of the massive docking bay around them. Hundreds of alien warriors moved with military precision. Their weapons and equipment spoke of a civilization that had been conquering other species for a very long time, but had spent nearly 50 years in Earth's military. He knew weapons, he knew soldiers, and something about these aliens bothered him. Their gear was impressive, but it was designed for intimidation more than efficiency. Their formations were parade ground perfect, but they moved like they had never faced real resistance. The aliens marched them through corridors that could have held aircraft. Strange symbols covered the walls, and the air tasted of metal and something could not identify. His crew stayed close together, drawing strength from each other's presence. They passed through several security checkpoints. Each one had more guards and bigger weapons, filed away every detail: the corridor layout, the number of soldiers, the response times. Old habits died hard even at 67. Finally, they reached a massive chamber. Hundreds of alien officers filled raised seats around the room's edges. At the center was a throne-like chair where Admiral took his place. The lighting was harsh and designed to make prisoners feel small and helpless. Stood straight. Around him, his crew tried to do the same, but fear was getting to them. Only natural. They were explorers and scientists, not soldiers. Studied them with all four eyes. "So," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "these are the humans, the species to discover they are not alone in the universe." The alien admiral smiled, showing teeth like broken glass. "They have no idea what they have stumbled into, no idea of the power they now face." Said nothing. He watched and waited and remembered everything. These aliens thought they knew humans. They thought they understood what they had captured. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Admiral rose from his throne and walked down to where stood. The alien moved with the confidence of someone who had never known defeat. His scales caught the harsh light as he circled the small group of humans like a predator examining its prey. "Begin the recording," ordered. "All ships in the fleet will witness this moment. Let the Empire see what crawls out of the darkness between stars." Red lights began blinking around the chamber. Realized they were being broadcast live. This was not just an interrogation. It was entertainment. Stopped in front of, even slouching, the alien towered over the human commander. "Tell me, little creature, what do you call yourself?" "Commander, Earth Defense Force, serial number." "Earth Defense Force." His laugh boomed through the chamber. The other officers joined in, their horrible sounds echoing off the metal walls. "You defend one small planet with these toy ships." The admiral gestured to a large screen that flickered to life. It showed images of the Hope's Dawn next to a warship. The human vessel looked like a minnow beside a shark. "This is your mighty warship," pointed one clawed finger at the screen. "Chemical propulsion, primitive metal hull, weapons that could barely scratch our paint." More images appeared. Human colonies, their small domes and simple structures looking pathetic compared to the massive cities shown alongside them. Earth itself, blue and green and alone in its star system. 23 colonies, read from a data display, spread across a mere 12 light-years, no faster-than-light communication, no real military fleet. He turned to his officers. "They are barely past their home world and they think they can explore our galaxy." Doctor stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "Your technology is impressive. Perhaps we could learn from each other, share knowledge. Our species might." His hand moved faster than a striking snake. He grabbed by the throat and lifted him off the ground. The human scientist gasped and struggled, but the alien's strength was beyond anything human. "Share knowledge." voice was deadly quiet. "What could you possibly teach us? Your fastest computers are slower than our children's toys. Your weapons use simple chemical explosives. Your medicine cannot even prevent the aging that marks this old one." He gestured with his free hand while still holding in the air. "Look at him, weak flesh, gray hair, scars from primitive conflicts. In a few years he will die from simple biological failure. We live for thousands of your Earth years." The alien admiral dropped, who collapsed to his knees, gasping. "This is what you offer us, the wisdom of creatures who live less than a single season of our lives." Lieutenant helped stand up. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "You don't have to be cruel. We came in peace." Peace walked over to another display screen. New images appeared showing conquests, burning cities, enslaved populations, worlds stripped of their resources. "This galaxy belongs to the Empire. We have conquered 847 star systems. We have enslaved dozens of species." The Admiral pointed at the humans. "You are nothing special, another primitive race that wandered too far from home, but perhaps you will be useful as slaves. Your small size will be perfect for maintenance work in our ship's narrow passages." The assembled officers laughed again. Some of them made comments in their own language that the translator did not repeat, but their tone made the meaning clear. "Your females can serve in our pleasure districts," continued, looking at and the other women in the crew. "Your males can work in the mining operations until they break. This old one," he pointed at, "will be an interesting specimen for our scientists. They will want to study how such a weak species survived long enough to reach the stars." Throughout all of this had remained silent. He watched with calm eyes. He noted how the alien moved, how he held his weapons, how he commanded his troops. The old soldier was gathering intelligence even here. "Nothing to say, old creature," moved closer to again. "No words of defiance, no threats. Even the weakest species usually snarl when cornered." Met the alien's four-eyed stare without flinching. "Would it matter what I said?" "No," admitted with amusement. "But it would be entertaining. Come now, tell us about your mighty human warriors, describe your powerful fleets, threaten us with your advanced weapons." The chamber fell quiet except for the hum of machinery. Every eye in the room focused on. The old commander looked around at the hundreds of alien faces. All of them wore expressions of cruel anticipation. "Our warriors," his voice was steady and calm. "Our fleets, our weapons," he paused as if considering the question seriously. "You really want to know?" "Yes," hissed. "Tell us what mighty forces will come to rescue you." Was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried a weight that had not been there before. "Nothing will come to rescue us." The aliens looked confused. This was not the answer they expected. "You see," continued, "what you captured was not a military vessel. The Hope's Dawn is an exploration ship. We are scientists and diplomats and engineers. We came out here hopping to find new friends among the stars." His eyes narrowed. "Then you are even more pathetic than I thought." "Maybe," said, "or maybe you just don't understand what you've done." The old commander looked directly into the recording devices. He knew his words were being broadcast across the Empire. Millions of aliens were watching him stand in chains before their admiral. "You want to know about human warriors?" asked. "About our weapons and our fleets? Then let me tell you something, Admiral. What you found out there in the dark was not our military. It was our hope." The chamber grew very quiet. "Our real warriors never left the Sol system," said, his voice growing stronger. "They stay home, they wait, they watch, and they prepare." Some amusement was fatting. Prepare for what? Looked at the alien admiral with eyes that had seen 47 years of war and death, and the darker sides of human nature. For threats to humanity. For the first time since the capture began, Admiral looked uncertain. Admiral studied with new attention. The human's words had changed something in the chamber's atmosphere. The cruel laughter had stopped. Even the officers in the viewing seats leaned forward to hear better. "What threats?" demanded. "What could a species like yours possibly face that would require warriors to stay behind?" Looked around the chamber slowly. His eyes found each recording device, knowing that millions across the Empire were watching. "You want to know what humans are capable of. You want to understand what you've stumbled into." The alien admiral gestured impatiently with one clawed hand. "Speak, old creature. Entertain us with tales of human might." "Permission to stand, Admiral?" asked formally. The request surprised. The old human had been on his knees for the entire interrogation. "You may stand," the alien said with amusement. "Let the Empire see you at your full, pathetic height." Rose slowly to his feet. His joints protested after kneeling on the metal floor, but he stood straight and tall. At 6 feet, he was still dwarfed by the 9-foot aliens around him, but something about his posture commanded respect. "Thank you," said. He looked directly at. "You want to know about threats? Let me tell you about Earth's history." The old commander's voice took on the tone of someone who had spent decades teaching young soldiers about the realities of war. 12,000 years ago, my ancestors were hunter-gatherers living in small tribes. They faced predators with nothing but sharp sticks and stone tools. Do you know what they did?" Said nothing, but his 4 eyes remained fixed on. "They hunted those predators to extinction," continued. "Giant cave bears, saber-toothed cats, creatures that could kill a human with a single swipe. We tracked them down and ended them, not because we had to, because we could." The chamber was completely silent now. 8,000 years ago, we invented agriculture. We built the first cities. And what was the first thing we did with organized civilization? Smile was cold. We used it to make war more efficient. We created armies. We built weapons designed for one purpose, killing other humans. Doctor looked up with growing alarm. This was not the peaceful commander they knew. "We fought wars that lasted centuries," went on. "Entire generations born, lived, and died knowing only conflict. We created weapons that could level cities, poisons that could kill millions, diseases engineered specifically to target enemy populations." Admiral shifted uncomfortably. "All species have wars in their primitive phases." "Primitive?" laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Admiral, we never stopped. 300 years ago, we created weapons that could destroy entire planets. We built bombs that could crack continents. We engineered viruses that could sterilize whole worlds." The old commander held up his hands. "You see these marks? 47 years in the Sol Defense Force. I've seen weapons that bend spacetime itself. I've commanded ships that could glass a planet in minutes. I've ordered the deaths of millions." Lieutenant stared in shock. This was not the gentle explorer who had led their peaceful mission. "But you said you were explorers," protested one of the officers. "Scientists and diplomats." Nodded. "We are. And do you know why?" His voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Because we got tired of killing each other. We looked at what we had become and decided to try something different. We chose to explore instead of conquer, to learn instead of destroy." The chamber was so quiet that the hum of the ship's engine seemed loud. "The hopes Dawn and ships like her represent humanity's better nature," continued. "We sent out peaceful explorers because we genuinely hoped to find friends among the stars. We wanted to prove that we could be more than what our history showed." Found his voice again. "And what does your history show?" Met the alien's gaze without flinching. "That humans are very, very good at killing things." The admiral's scale seemed to ripple with unease. "You are threatening us." "No," said calmly. "I'm trying to warn you, there's a difference." Began to pace slowly, his hands clasped behind his back like a teacher delivering a lecture. "You see, Admiral, what you've done here today will be recorded and sent back to Earth. Our government will see peaceful explorers in chains. They'll see humans mocked and threatened." He stopped packing and looked directly at, and they'll ask themselves a question: are humans safe in this galaxy? The alien admiral's voice carried a dangerous edge. Are you saying your people will seek revenge? Revenge? Shook his head. No, Admiral, revenge is emotional. What I'm talking about is much worse. What I'm talking about is a threat assessment. Gestured to the images of conquest still displayed on the screens. You've conquered 847 star systems. You've enslaved dozens of species. You just told us that humans will make good slaves. The old commander's voice grew cold as winter space. From Earth's perspective, you are exactly the kind of threat our defense force was created to eliminate. You dare threaten the Empire, roared, rising from his throne. I'm not threatening anyone, said quietly. I'm stating facts. Earth has weapons that make your plasma cannons look like children's toys. We have ships that would dwarf your largest dreadnoughts. We have strategies and tactics refined by thousands of years of the most brutal warfare imaginable. The alien admiral drew his sidearm and pointed it at. Enough! You will beg for mercy, or I will execute you here and now. Looked at the weapon pointed at his chest. Then he looked up at its furious face. Go ahead, he said calmly. Kill me, kill all of us. Stream it live across your empire. The chamber held its breath. But understand this, continued, his voice carrying absolute certainty. The moment you pull that trigger, you seal your species' fate, because you won't be killing just explorers anymore. You'll be killing humans, and humans do not forgive. We do not forget. We do not stop. His finger tightened on the trigger, but he hesitated. Took a step closer to the weapon. You want to know the real difference between humans and every other species you've conquered. We don't fight for glory. We don't fight for territory. When humans go to war, we fight for extinction. Complete, total, final. The old commander's voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but somehow everyone in the chamber heard every word. You want war? We will give you war. But remember, Admiral, when your cities burn and your fleets drift as space debris, remember this moment. Remember that you had a choice. Spread his arms wide, presenting himself as a target. So choose, Admiral. Execute peaceful explorers on galactic television, or let us go home to tell Earth that we found a species willing to talk. The chamber waited in absolute silence for his decision. Admiral's weapon trembled in his grip. The chamber remained frozen in that terrible moment of decision. Around them, hundreds of officers watched their commander wrestle with a choice that would define the future of their empire. Slowly, very slowly, lowered his weapon. Take them to the detention cells, he ordered. His voice carried none of its earlier confidence. We will decide their fate later. As guards led the humans away, caught the Admiral's eye one last time. You have 3 days, he said quietly, maybe 4. Then it won't matter what you decide. The guards dragged them through corridors that seemed less impressive now. What had looked like symbols of power before now felt like the decorations of a species that had never faced real opposition. 3 days later, the galaxy changed forever. The first sign came from the edge of space. Deep space monitoring stations detected massive gravitational anomalies. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace in formations that understanding. The sensor readings were so extreme that operators thought their equipment had malfunctioned. Fleet Admiral Sarah Blackwood stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought Unforgiven. She was 43 years old, a product of Earth's military academies and former student. Behind her, the combined might of humanity's true fleet emerged from the space between dimensions. The ships that appeared were not built for exploration. They were instruments of war perfected over centuries of human conflict. The smallest destroyer was twice the size of a battlecruiser. The largest dreadnoughts were mobile battle stations that could crack planets. Status report, Blackwood ordered. Fleet is fully operational, reported her tactical officer. 127 vessels of the Wall, 3,000 support craft, All weapons systems green. Commander Torres, her intelligence chief, looked up from his station. We have confirmation, Admiral. The Hope's Dawn and her crew are being held at Zephyr Prime. The broadcast was transmitted across their entire communication network. Admiral Blackwood nodded. She had watched that transmission. She had seen stand before an alien tribunal and warned them of what was coming. She had seen him give them a chance to choose differently. Did they respond to our demands? She asked. Yes, ma'am, Torres replied. They told us that humans will make excellent slaves and that we should surrender immediately or face the might of their empire. Blackwood almost smiled, almost. Open a channel to all ships, fleet-wide broadcast. The communication officer nodded. All vessels ready to receive, Admiral. This is Admiral Blackwood to all ships of fleet, she began. 3 days ago, peaceful human explorers were captured by the Empire. They were mocked, threatened, and marked for slavery. Our people are in chains because they dared to hope for friendship among the stars. Her voice carried across the quantum communication network to every human ship in the formation. They have shown us what they are. They are conquerors. They are slavers. They are a threat to every free being in this galaxy. On the tactical display, ships were beginning to respond to their presence. Patrol fleets were scrambling from nearby systems. Defense stations were powering their weapons. The Empire was mobilizing for war. Our mission is simple, Blackwood continued. We will retrieve our people. We will eliminate this threat to humanity. We will show this galaxy what happens to those who mistake our kindness for weakness. She paused, thinking of and the warnings he had given the aliens. Fleet, you are authorized to engage. Show them what humans do to slavers. The battle for the Zephyr system lasted 6 hours. The fleet that met them was impressive by any standard except humanity's. 300 ships strong, armed with plasma weapons, and protected by energy shields that could deflect most attacks. They had conquered dozens of worlds with this fleet. Against human weapons, they lasted 4 minutes. Humanity did not fight with plasma or energy beams. They fought with weapons that restructured matter at the atomic level. They used singularity torpedoes that created tiny black holes inside enemy ships. Their cannons fired streams of exotic matter that ignored shields and armor equally. The first battleship to die simply stopped existing. One moment it was firing plasma bolts at the human fleet. The next, there was nothing but empty space where it had been. Admiral watched from his flagship as his mighty fleet evaporated before his eyes. Ship after ship vanished or exploded or simply went dark. His weapons could not penetrate human shields. His fastest vessels could not escape human pursuit. Surrender, he broadcast on all frequencies. We surrender, stop the attack. The human response came from Admiral Blackwood herself. The time for surrender was 3 days ago, Admiral. You had your chance. His flagship shuddered as human weapons tore through its defenses. Around him, his bridge crew scrambled at their stations, but there was nothing they could do. They were fighting an enemy that was simply beyond their ability to comprehend. Please, transmitted desperately. We release the human prisoners. They are free. No harm has come to them. Good, Blackwood replied. That might save you. The attack on Zephyr Prime itself was swift and precise. Human Marines teleported directly onto the prison ship where and his crew were held. The guards surrendered without firing a shot. Greeted Admiral Blackwood in person when she arrived to collect them. Sarah, he said with genuine warmth, good to see you. Commander, she replied formally, then smiled. Though I think you'll be Admiral when we get home. The President was not pleased with how they treated our people. Looked around at the wreckage of the fleet floating outside the viewport. I tried to warn them. You did, Blackwood agreed. They chose not to listen. Doctor stepped forward, still shaken by what he had witnessed. Admiral, what happens now to their empire, to their people? Blackwood's expression grew cold. That depends on how quickly they can learn to follow human rules. On the main display, messages were already coming in from colony worlds. Reports of human fleets appearing over major population centers, demands for surrender, offers of protection for species that had been enslaved by the Empire. The Empire had ruled 847 star systems for over 2,000 years. In 6 hours, it ceased to exist as a galactic power. Watch the streams of data flowing across the screens. Surrender messages, requests for mercy, pleas for negotiation, all from an empire that had laughed at human weakness just